Hey guys, welcome back to the MCU HQ, and I just got back from seeing Captain Marvel, the very first Marvel Cinematic Universe film of 2019. And here's my review of it. Now, this is a non-spoiler review. My spoiler review will be going up right after this video, so if you have not yet seen Captain Marvel, you can watch this review, go see Captain Marvel, then watch my spoiler review. For people who have seen Captain Marvel, do not put spoiler comments in this video. I will delete them. Anyway, I have 2 of these to film and edit, and it's late, so I'm going to get right into it. First thing I want to say is I feel like I am the only person on the internet who actually liked this movie. Now, is it great like Infinity War or Guardians or Ragnarok? No, it is definitely a mid-tier Marvel movie, but I don't think it deserves the 32% audience score it has on Rotten Tomatoes. It's definitely better than that, and I'll touch more on this in my spoiler review. Some of those little things that are hard to mention without spoilers, so I'll touch more on that in my spoiler review. But anyway, non-spoiler. So first thing I want to start off with here is talking about some of the major characters. Not every character. I just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters, and there were a lot more in the movie. But anyway, let's start off here with the title hero, Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. What did I think of her? Well, I thought Brie Larson did a good job. People didn't think she did a good job. They thought she came off as unlikable. But, I mean, hey, have you ever read a Captain Marvel comic? So, I'd say she did a good job with what she was given. I look at it, I'm like, this is an award-winning actress. She's doing great with what she's given. So going in something like Endgame, I'm pumped to see what happens with her. There's definitely great potential with the character, which I'll touch on more later on. But I thought Brie Larson did good as the character. And she had some really cool moments, which I'll talk about later and in my spoiler review more in depth. Okay, moving on, let's talk about Nick Fury. Now, this is Samuel L. Jackson CGI'd to look like he did in the 90s, and it looked really good. And I didn't think he was going to be in a lot of the movie, but he was in most of the movie. And it was cool because the CGI, it never once looked unrealistic. It looked like in the entire time. Now, Coulson's also in this movie for a bit. His CG's not as good because it's Clark Gregg and they made him look younger. His doesn't look as good, but Fury looks awesome. It was great what they did with him. And I like the take on Fury. A younger Fury, Fury that's new to S.H.I.E.L.D., desk work, that stuff. And I like this take on Fury. I thought it was good. Okay, so moving on, we have Carol's friend Maria Rambeau, who was not in as much of the movie, more than I thought she'd be, but she wasn't in a lot of the movie. But I liked her character, and her daughter Monica Rambeau is in it as a kid, and in the comics, Monica Rambeau is a character named Photon, who I believe led the Avengers at one point. So it'll be cool to see what they do with her. That's what I was trying to say. But I liked Maria. She wasn't my favorite at all, but I liked when she was on screen. I liked her dialogue. I liked what she did in the movie, and all around, I liked her character. Not much to say about her, though. Moving on, we get to Jude Law's character. Now, I like Jude Law, and I thought he did good as the character that he was playing. I'm not going to say who he's playing, because that's a spoiler, even though most people have probably predicted who he's playing. But I thought his scenes were pretty cool. He delivered his lines well. He had great facial expressions. I'm going to talk more about facial expressions in the spoiler review, so definitely go see the movie so you guys can witness that. That'll be fun. And yeah, same thing with Maria Rambeau. He was not my favorite character by any means, but I really enjoyed when he was on screen. I liked all of his scenes, and believe it or not, he actually had some pretty humorous parts in the movie. There was a really funny part too, and like, you know it's coming, and you're sitting there and you're like, oh, yep, I know it's about to happen, and it just goes from like serious to humor. It was a total Ragnarok moment, and I liked how it was done, and I liked his acting in that scene, and I thought it was cool. But yeah, so I liked Jude Law's character. Now moving on, we get to Annette Bening's character, which, if you didn't know already, who she's playing, then skip to, I'll write the timestamp, skip to there because I'm going to say who she's playing. She plays the supreme intelligence of the Kree, and I definitely liked her character. My camera battery's going to die soon. I'm really hoping I can get through this video. But I liked her character. She had a really cool scene with Captain Marvel that actually gave me chills, and I'll talk more about that later on and in the spoiler review. But she wasn't in a lot of the movie. She was very much a cameo, it felt like. Okay, moving on, we get to Goose, the cat of Captain Marvel. And most people said Goose steals the show, and if they say that, I'm not going to deny that. He just wasn't my favorite. But Goose definitely had some great scenes, stole the show in some of the scenes, not all the scenes. Very funny, although did one thing that kind of bugged me. And I'm going to rant about that in the spoiler review. There's a lot of stuff that's going to go down in the spoiler review, so you guys definitely need to get ready for that. Okay, moving on, let's talk about my actual favorite character in this movie. The villain, I already forgot how they pronounce it. I think it's Talos. I thought it was Talos. It's Talos. But God, he was hilarious. He had really funny scenes. He had really serious scenes. He had great action scenes. All his dialogue was great. I love Ben Mendelsohn. I think he does good in everything. So, he was great casting for that. It's cool too because I love his accent because none of the other Skrulls have his accent, and it's hilarious. The CG on him was great, and every time he was on screen, I just loved it. And it's just seeing the Skrulls, they're so cool to look at because they're completely different than any alien we've ever seen. Usually most of the humanoids are just humans but a different color. No, Skrulls look really cool, and especially their transformations. They show a lot of transformations. I didn't think they were going to show as many as they showed. I think almost every time a Skrull transformed in this movie, I think they showed it, and that was really cool because the transformations are so fun to look at. But yeah, Talos was a great character overall. Okay, moving on, plot twists, because this movie had a lot of them. There were some that were really good. There were some that just popped up and you're like, oh, hey, there's a plot twist. And then there were some that were bad. Now, I'm not going to say what the really bad one was, but let's just say it was a scene that feels like it was only put in there because they felt the need to put it in there, but it was executed really poorly, but you can't do anything to change it. And it should have been much better than it was, and it wasn't. And it's one of my big drawbacks from the movie. I do have a couple, but that was really a negative for me, and it really bummed me out. But yeah, there were some really cool plot twists. I'll talk about all the plot twists, all the different kinds of plot twists in the spoiler review, obviously. Moving on, let's talk about epic scenes here. And I wrote scenes handled the wrong way, but I think I covered that earlier. Covered some of it earlier. I'll talk about the rest here. There was one really chill-inducing scene in the movie. A lot of the movie, it's you're sitting there, you're watching it, it's cool. But then there's one scene that you get to in the movie that I actually had genuine chills, and it lasted a while. I'd say about 3 to 5 minutes, where I was really pumped up, just chills that make your hands stand up on the edge of makes your hair stand up on the edge of my seat for like a pretty long period of time, and it went on longer than I expected it would. Now, scenes handled the wrong way, because there was one big one in this where the soundtrack in this movie is great, and there's one scene that's a really cool scene, and it's a very crucial scene for the movie, at a very important part of the movie, that plays, I forget, some Nirvana song, I can't remember what it's called, and it did not fit at all. I did not like the music choice for that scene, which a lot of the movie had good music choice, but not that scene. It had a really bad music choice, even the way it's edited together. like, usually it's either the song and scene start at the same time, or the song starts then the scene goes. It was like the scene started, and then like a second after the scene comes on, the song goes, and it was edited together really weird, and I didn't really like it. I'll talk about that later. So, all in all, this film it was a good movie, and there's great potential for Captain Marvel going forward. They did not nail her the first time. They did pretty good. If you've read Captain Marvel comics, they did pretty good. It's pretty comic accurate. But there's great potential for things they can do with characters with her in the future. It's a lot like Thor, where it takes him a bit to get going, and then he ends up becoming one of your favorites. I feel like that's how Captain Marvel's going to go. It's going to be a couple movies where she's there, she's doing cool stuff, but she's not your favorite, and then later on she's just going to do some really cool stuff, have good character moments, and then you're going to love her character. I'm thinking that's what's going to happen. Now let's talk about one of my big other negatives with the movie as a conclusion here. It doesn't really fit with the rest of the review, but this movie feels slow at points. I'd say the first 45 minutes to like first hour of the movie, it feels like it drags on. It's a lot of walking around and talking to people, and then finding another character walking around, talking to them. Scrolls show up, they fight for a minute, walk around, talk to another person. That's how the first half of the movie goes, and the trailers have shown the red and blue suits, and the posters, but I don't feel like the movie really picks up once Carol gets the comic, the red and blue suit. The whole time she has her Kree one, it feels slow. Which, another point of that, when I say characters walking around and talking to each other, I noticed at some point in the movie, it feels like they didn't really, how do I want to say this? They assumed the audience was idiots at one point. Like there's a file or something they're showing, and they're talking about, oh yeah, this was a thing they were doing at one point. And then, like, at the bottom, it says, like, project canceled. And Carol's like, oh, the project was canceled. Why was it canceled? And I'm like, I feel like we could have read that it said project canceled, and then as the movie tells the story, we'll figure it out. But there are several scenes in the movie where they directly tell you exactly what it says on screen, and it kind of makes me upset. And then there are some things I was going to do here, like references and Easter eggs, but I'm going to talk about that in spoiler. I think it'll fit better there. So, final grade for this movie, what do I want to give it? I would say a B. It's not A-worthy, but I also don't think it's C-worthy. It drags on at points, the characters are great, there's some weird stuff that goes down, some weird plot twists that are handled in an interesting way, but I definitely don't think it's a bad movie, I don't think it's a great movie. It's definitely a mid-tier Marvel movie, and I think it deserves a B. Now, let's talk about post-credits scenes, of which there are two. The first one, you have to stay for this one. This is crucial, okay? I'd say this is one of, if not the best post-credit scene we've had. It got an applause in the theater. Like, not a little clap like that, like a big applause, people screaming, people shouting, cheering. It was great, and it gets you hyped knowing what's to come. And the best part is this is not a post-credit scene that's like 30 seconds long. No. We're talking 2 minutes maybe. It's like a full-on scene. It doesn't feel like post-credit scene. It feels like a full-on, like, I don't want to say sequence. Sequences, that's too long. But the post-credit scene tells its own story. Like, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it was really cool just sitting there looking at it. I'm going to talk a lot about the post-credit scene in spoilers, because there's a lot to dissect with it. But it was a really good post-credit scene. Now, the second one, you don't need to stay for it. I stayed for it. I got a good laugh out of it. And it's kind of cool. But you don't need to stay for it if you don't want to. You can look it up online. And I'll go over that in the spoiler review, what it is. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for my Captain Marvel non-spoiler review. What did you think of the movie, and what did you think of this review? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, leave a like on this video, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from the MCU HQ. That's going to be it. Have a great day, guys.